Okay, well, I guess we're recording, so it makes it official.
Yeah.
Let me find somewhere I have an Emacs buffer to take some notes in. And let's see, we had an agenda somewhere. Okay, so I guess normal agenda items, so some things we've accomplished since last time. We have a CLA now, so that's great. Thank you, Linux Foundation. Teddy and I fixed the regression on the user tables, and there's been a whole host of build and dependency updates that Alessandro, Stefano, and Teddy have all been doing. Those were kind of the major things I saw go by in the PRs and merges. I don't know if anyone else wants to give a shout out to anything.
Yeah, I talk about just the dependencies we have been converting. We only have like a handful of them that are still missing, like Google Log, Google Test, and so on. We already have a formula-based building system and a draft for the OpenSSL library. So with Teddy helping out and testing these things, we will soon have the dependencies ready to be merged.
Cool. Okay, great. I'm just gonna go down the agenda. And I remember some of these items from last week, so yeah. Probably top of the list is really the 4.0 release status. Last meeting, we talked about maybe aiming for an end of August, and Lauren was going to touch base with Mike. Mike's here, so I think part of that is coming out of Stefano and Alessandro are probably doing most of that work. So how are y'all feeling about end of August right now?
I'll defer to Alessandro on that. I know he's working on the build chain, and that's the blocker, right? That's the only blocker we have currently.
Yeah, true. Both my work and Stefano's work on the tool chain are required for the next release. We feel like end of August is a good date. We will try to get this sooner so we can test this before the stable release, of course. But yeah, we feel pretty confident we will meet the deadline.
Do we still want to we talked about cutting a pre-release at the end of July. Do we still want to cut another pre-release, or do folks just want to wait till the tool chain's in better shape?
Yeah, so we have tried to do a pre-release. We were waiting for a couple of things. The first one was the is user issue that you have solved. We were looking for that. And we have pushed the milestone up of a minor version to allow for the pre-release. Stefano have been looking into the toolchain to be able to provide at least CentOS 7 compatibility in this pre-release. But there's a number of issues that Stefano may talk about more after we get to the toolchain point in the agenda. It wasn't exactly easy to get something up and running at this stage before we have all the dependencies up and running.
So I'm going to suggest then that it may not be worth cutting another pre-release before y'all are happy. Like, we don't really need one. Like, certainly I can just build off head for my own testing. So if we wait and try and cut like a pre-release whenever the toolchain stuff lands, it might be a little bit more real.
Yeah, sure. It makes sense. I originally wanted to have one to have your fix and CentOS 7 compatibility, but we only have half of what I imagined we would have at this point.
Okay, sorry, taking notes in the background. Okay, so it sounds like we'll probably defer that. We've been kind of tracking things in the 402 milestone, and kind of the big ones are, I guess, just the custom toolchain and the and the dependencies. There's like this weird open issue around tracking versions in Buck.
Is it about the Git version?
Yeah. We converted CMake over to using the Git version, but I don't know how to do that for Buck.
Yeah, we can try to take a look at it. I'm sure they are already launching external commands inside the Buck build system, so we can probably take inspiration there and try to implement it. It shouldn't be too hard to.
Yeah. I think we probably don't actually. If we get the other things done, I would suggest we decide not to block on the Buck versioning, because we can always just patch the version and call it good enough.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I don't really see it as a blocker. It's just a nice to have.
Mm-hmm.
We also have some. Oh well, I guess we talked about this later. I guess we can have Teddy help out with this.
Teddy, speaking of this stuff, Teddy called out extensions for CMake. Extensions, like the whole extension subsystem was never really ported to the 4.0 stuff.
Yeah, not yet.
Is this something that we want for 4.0 for the 4.02 release, which is the targeting end of August, or should we kick it forward a release to 4.03?
That's a good point. I would defer it. I mean, we can still build the extensions by using a different Git tag.
Mm-hmm.
And we also have to plan a roadmap for doing the full extension SDK refactor.
Mm-hmm. Teddy asked if any of us were currently working on fixing extensions in 4.0. This is not to say any of us need to jump on that, just,
yeah. I have briefly taken a look at it yesterday and considered doing for a second, because I have to make an extension. The trouble is that it is currently not really useful to have the extension mechanism ready unless we also have the custom toolchain and the dependencies working. Because even if we had the extension system working, we would not be able to output a binary that can work on any Linux distribution.
Okay, so maybe I think what I heard there is that any extension work really depends on having the toolchain and dependency work done. So we can't really even pick up extensions until the toolchain is done. So when the toolchain is done, we may as well call that a stable 4.02 and then begin extension work and call it 4.03.
Yeah, makes sense.
I see that the issue for this is already tagged to the milestone for 4.03.
Yeah, it looks that way.
Yeah, it's my bad. I put it there some time ago. We should move it away.
No, it's on 4.03. That's where we want it.
Oh, 4.03. Okay, nice.
Okay, let's see.
Oh yeah, we should also fix the versioning in the milestones, because I moved the versions up a minor number because I thought we were going to release the stable pre-release. I'm sorry, the pre-release, but we didn't.
Okay, and the other thing Teddy called out when he updated the agenda is updating the docs, read the docs for building. And I think we've talked about that too. There's like a bunch of we should update all the build docs. I'm gonna make a ticket, and I'm actually gonna stick it in 4.02. Is that something anyone wants to tackle? Stefano, you might be the right person, or Alessandro on that one.
As far as I know, I tried, but we don't have access to it. Stefan knows more about this.
I've actually put those points. I made 2 points because updating the docs is possible because read the docs builds from the Git repository. So there's a folder docs, and so if you update the documentation there, it will refresh on this website. And the second thing is, though, do we have access to the website if we have to do any other kind of maintenance? So, and how we get it? Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to make 2 issues then. One of them is to update the docs, and that'll be an osquery one. Stefano, can I assign that to you?
Yep.
And I will also make a foundation one to try and figure out what's going on with read the docs.
Also, it might be related, the same thing. I didn't put it, but the osquery.io website itself will still show the old stables. So how do we want to use, update it, etc.?
Zach?
You're talking about updating the schema docs on the website?
Well, not only that, the osquery.io site gives the downloads.
Or the downloads?
Things like that, yeah. I mean, we can still, we can give alternate download. So like we have done for the pre-release from the GitHub page.
Yeah, I mean, my inclination would be to move downloads to GitHub wherever possible, and then we can change the links on the website as appropriate. I mean, what do other folks think?
Yeah, I was personally thinking about that. I wasn't sure we had access to the website to change it, but well, maybe Teddy can do that.
Oh,
No.
we 100% have access to the website. Anyone can put up a PR, and I think that the normal folks with merge access to osquery also have merge access to the website, and I've been updating the website recently.
Okay.
So it's easy to do, and if anyone has questions about that, just reach out to me.
Yeah, I didn't notice the repository was okay. Yeah, cool.
It's github.com/osquery/osquery-site.
I just added that to the meeting notes.
Yeah, I'm transferring things from the agenda into an Emacs buffer. Well, they'll end up in like a PR too. So
Okay.
there's a lot of happening in my screen. I'm sorry. Sometime we'll try and find a better process probably, but it all evolves. Yeah, okay. So the next one I had here was table caching, which I added, so I can talk about that one. So one of the things I noticed in the, so to rehash this, to remind people, right? A little while ago, someone merged a thing into the users table, which made user requests slow. And while trying to sort of debug that, what I noticed was SQLite is calling gen users a lot on a cross join. And this is kind of weird because like that behavior doesn't change even if we turn on table caching, which is what, like, there's a bunch of virtual table caching that is supposed to exist for this inner join case. So I think there's some sort of weird lingering issue where like one, table caching doesn't work how we want, and then this relates to, we don't actually have table caching enabled in most of the spec files, and a lot of them also have incorrect index pragmas. So there's just kind of a big sprawling mess of stuff there, and like it seems hard to test too, because I don't know if we can like easily instrument things in a way the test system can pick it all up. There's like a lot there to unpack. Zach and I know, were yammering a little bit 2 weeks ago about it, but I don't know if that's something that, this is definitely not a thing that we're blocking on, but it's like a thing that I'm kind of going to keep revisiting. So if anyone has any thoughts on that.
Is it, when it does all those requests, is it only for the one column? Or is it's an indexed query, right? So it comes back to indexes?
Well, yes and no. So the existing users table declares it has indexes. That's wrong. And it also doesn't enable caching. So I made another users table that just removes all the indexes and enables caching. And what I saw was on a cross join, it would basically keep saying, select users where UID equals X, where UID equals X, where UID equals X. So it's clearly not caching at all. And I'm operating a little bit forensically, but there are PRs that added in caching functionality primarily to work within a join. So it's exactly this kind of, while joining, don't keep hitting the backends. But I don't know. There's a GitHub issue. If anyone is excited,
Yeah,
please join me there.
Yeah, there's definitely something I put a fix in for where the osquery code is saying it has an index for everything. So it's going to say, all right, well, you're faster, so I'll use your index.
Did that fix merge?
No.
Is there a PR number? Like, should we look at that?
Should definitely get that in. It was based on the old code base, so it hasn't been updated. I know, I gave the fix to somebody at the conference there at Trailbits.
Yeah, and I have it somewhere. I think you just messaged me a patch. Do you know whether it applies cleanly to the new branch? Have you tried?
No, we're not on the new branch.
Yeah, so I mean, I think it will be interesting to try both applying that patch and removing the claimed index from that column in the schema and seeing if together those resolve the issue. So Steph, maybe that's something that we can follow up on and see how that goes.
Yeah, I'd also really like to try and find ways of getting it into a test framework that isn't like me counting printfs on my screen. Alex, if you can find that PR patch, I don't quickly see it in the submitted PRs right now.
Yeah, I'll take a look.
Yeah, if you just IM it to me or something, I'll at least put it in the meeting notes and link it to the tickets that are running on this.
Wasn't it also being opened on NoSQL, that PR, packet 0? Because I recall something. I think I have a couple of PR here. Like, let me link this. This one, spec missing index, which updates the spec files missing index additional options, and also only use index if implemented.
Yes.
Which is this one.
Yeah, so those are the two. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, and the second one also exists as an issue, though. Okay. On
PR 12 looks exactly like what I was looking for. Excellent. I'll link that in and try and take a look at it.
Yeah, sorry. I had moved some PRs from NoSQL to osquery. I still didn't finish.
No criticism at all. Okay. Cool. That's a little bit of progress. It sounds like Zach's still excited, and Alex as well. So I'll pull you two into the GitHub issue that I've got slowly simmering there. So that's my table caching update. Non-system toolchain builds on Linux for portable packages. Stefano?
So yeah, that's basically the custom toolchain we need to release a stable. And just a couple of information. It's based on Teddy's work, originally called Build Anywhere. It uses cross-tool energy to build a GCC, which then builds a couple of times CLang. So I've tried it. It works. Well, I cannot fully test it because we really need to have the dependency building from source, because we have to patch some things to have it compile successfully osquery. Though in general the toolchain seems to work. I have to make changes though to the to how it builds the last LLVM CLang, because it still uses libraries it shouldn't. I mean, it is giving me some issues, but I'm confident it will be ready for the end of August.
Cool.
Is there any help that you need with that? Anything we can do, or?
Well, I don't know. It's mainly that crosstool ng, which is this tool that lets you easily create a GCC, actually a static toolchain basically. So it builds for you a GCC that's completely static, because if you go and download the normal GCC source code and all the libraries, it does not support that. You have to apply several patches, though these patches are not something that's common standard, so it's a bit of black magic. So you have to use this tool. And this tool, though, when it builds GCC and prepare the folder where GCC is built and all the libraries, it creates a very crazy structure, which is then difficult to use to compartmentalize the build of the the build of the next compiler, so LLVM. So it's just more a matter of fighting with paths, with merging things, merging paths with libraries together. So yeah, it's not a problem of something that I don't know, let's say. But definitely, if I hit something weird, I will ask for help. Because, for instance, when I tried to have a toolchain that built the pre-release on CentOS statically and on, I had issues there. The resulting binary was crashing, etc. That would be a thing I could have asked help for, but I thought to avoid spending more time on it.
Cool. I imagine as things go, we'll get binaries to test. Next thing here, also sort of related, status of third-party redesign, Alessandro. I don't know. Yeah, that's all I know.
Yeah, so most of the libraries that could be converted are ready. We, for the time being, only enabling those new source-based libraries on Linux, so that we don't have to test additional stuff on Windows and macOS, since there is no release blocker there. We will, of course, enable them in the future. Most of them have been converted. We are looking at the last 4 or 5 libraries that are currently missing. I've already pushed the draft of a OpenSSL formula we can use, and it works to build osquery. And in general, things are progressing quite well. Ted is helping out with some fixes. And he also provided the original formulas for those missing libraries. So it is just a matter of refining the system we have built. And then I guess we are ready for starting to, well, we also need the toolchain, of course. But other than that, we are on a quite good ground.
I guess same questions, right? You feel good for the end of the month, which you've said several times. And,
Yeah.
Do you need any help?
I guess not right now. Or rather, everyone is free to try out the branch we are using. The third-party submodules, I think. Both me and Teddy are committing directly there. So if you want to try it out, I know that the CI will fail, and some of the tests are also failing. So one thing that can be done is trying to figure out why the tests are breaking. Teddy and I will focus on finishing the remaining formulas, and then we will also look at the tests.
How does one try out that branch?
It works just like the standard master branch. So you just clone the branch and run the build command.
Just the same cmake, make, test, ctest?
Yeah. There's a number of source modules in there made with Git submodules to speed up the CI process. Those submodules are automatically fetched whenever a component in a query attempts to link against the library. So everything should just work. Should.
I guess the same ask as earlier. Please do update build docs and whatnot so that all of that kind of can move in sync.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving along. Publishing packages. So I'm not sure who created this item. Anyone want to speak up to owning it?
Okay. Yeah, I think Teddy was asking if, like in the next points, if Azure Pipeline can use CPAC to build packages and then push them to S3. The answer is yes. I've already done in the past for SQL a pipeline for building packages. So we have to create a second Azure Pipeline configuration file, but that's fine. And I just have to look into, I know they call it a task, which is an extension basically to upload to S3. I still didn't look into it, but it should be possible, yeah.
So I'd like to split this up a little bit. I think Grub mentioned this a little bit in the last meeting, and he and I have certainly put some thought into how Launcher works here. And one of the things I'd really like to do is to split the binary builds from the packaging step. Even if they happen in the same Azure, workflow, that's fine. But like it gives us the ability to have one set of things that just builds, pushes into a S3 artifact storage, and then another thing which can download that sign and push a package somewhere.
Yep.
So even if it's all using CMake and Azure, I find it very valuable to have those distinctly separated.
Yeah.
I suspect also that like we're not really going to ship signing keys to build machines, and there's a lot of unknowns, I think, about where will this go in the future. I think we're sort of assuming that Facebook will keep signing releases for us for a little while, but that we're going to have to pull that into ourselves later.
So regarding the first part of splitting the build process from the packaging process, yes, it can be done because you can run CPAC standalone, basically, without using CMake itself, though it needs a script where it contains all the configuration, all the data that right now it is inside. The majority of it is inside the packaging.cmake. So it's a matter of creating that script that holds all the necessary information. And for signing, also, always for SQL, I had to research how to do that. And I kind of hit a roadblock there because, so first of all, I'm not very familiar probably with let's say with signing, meaning I searched how to do that using the standard tools, meaning for Linux, GPG, for Apple, his own code sign, for Windows, etc. I don't know how it is called. But the thing is, you have to give the key on the command line. You cannot ask it. You cannot request it to either fetch somehow the key somewhere else, or either use an already signed hash for the HMAC part, so that in that case you could use a hardware security module. Because basically I was looking into using the Azure Key Vault to store private keys so they wouldn't exit from there and then sign things. But it seemed the various tools couldn't do that. So I don't know if normally you use something else.
Well, yes and no. I've spent a lot of time in this space. So the platforms are all very different. As I understand it right now, there is no real code signing for Linux. So people sometimes GPG sign things, but it all feels very ad hoc. There's no like native code signing. So I'm ignoring Linux completely. For OS X, code signing is generally done using system certificates. So it's not a command line specification. It's coming out of the keychain. I know that Grooves played a little bit with signing OS X binaries from Linux. That's not something I've looked at, though we have code lying around for that somewhere. The way I've sort of tackled this on the Mac side is to keep keys in Key Vault, pull them out of Key Vault, stick them into my signing machine, and then sign that way. So there's like a setup and then a sign step. Windows is a little different. For Windows, there are, I only understand half of this. There's a tool called OSSL. What is that tool called? OSSL sign code, which is an open source, relatively unsupported tool that will sign a Windows binary based on a thing you pass it on the command line. More interestingly is that Windows's sign tool, which is the native Microsoft thing for signing, by default, it uses the Windows certificate store, but there is some prior art around hooking that to the Azure key management system. It probably requires understanding and writing some Visual C++. I can point you at those blog posts. But I sort of at one level, I completely agree. Like we'll need to find a way to keep our signing keys in some KMS somewhere and have that integrated with the signing pipeline.
Yeah, in fact, I wanted to comment that on macOS, when I said command line tools, I just meant that, you can call code sign, but the key, it's in the keychain, but the problem is that you have to put it there. So if you, instead the idea was that you don't have to take out the key from the hardware security module. So that's what I wasn't be able to do. Also, I know that sign tool in the past had this possibility, the possibility of giving it a signed hash, though they removed it for some reason, and they added it that what you told earlier. Basically, you have to pass it a DLL, I think, which implements that part with code. I don't know why, because it was much easier just passing it the hash. But yeah.
And HMS or HSM hosting is really expensive.
Well, we can also use soft HSMs. So Azure and Google and Amazon all do cloud HSMs, which are probably good enough for our needs.
I think Azure Key Vault actually does have, it does have hardware, and it shouldn't cost that much.
If you actually do dedicated HSM hardware, it's usually measured in thousands of dollars a month. If you do software, which might ultimately be backed by shared hardware somewhere, it's usually measured in dollars. So Azure, all the major cloud players have software ones and hardware ones. And as far as I know, the interfaces are very similar.
Yeah, I know we have a hardware extended cert, and it requires plugging a USB in directly. So I looked at hosting for that. I was like, forget it.
Yeah, that's one I'm trying to understand and wrap my head around whether the EV requirements are met by some of the cloud HSMs. DigiCert says that they can work with Azure Key Vault. So there's some stuff here. This is all like stuff I've half researched.
Yeah, I think DigiCert is what we have, and don't believe what they say.
We might also be okay without an EV cert. I don't really know. No one really knows like what the threshold for number of downloads is to pass the reputation checks. Anyhow, I'll make sure we have some okay foundation issues for this, and we can like yammer on in said foundation issues. To me, at least, I think we're still at like a design stage for this. So I don't know where maybe other people feel differently.
Yeah, I'd like to see track that an issue, and I'd like to see the links that you mentioned that you had, the MSDN links. I know that I've talked to Stefano about this previously, and it all seems feasible. It's just a matter of maybe a few details.
Yeah, I've written some of this in. I mean, as people may or may not know, I wrote a lot of the launcher build and sign infrastructure, which always needs improving. But you know, one thing that's interesting to me is to think about just re-leveraging all of that for osquery. You know, it's basically a bunch of Go tools, so it fits very well with my preferred make binary, package binary, sign binary workflow. I will make sure we have foundation issues. I will make sure I put some links somewhere when I finish typing up the minutes today.
Thanks.
Next item, flaky Windows buck tests, timeout errors.
Yeah, this looks like one of the issues Teddy had, but he's not able to join.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was. I don't have it under my fingers, but I know that there was a PR from someone that triggered a timeout on back Windows on the CI. So yeah, it's a matter. I will find it again, that PR, so that it's possible to look into it. So basically, yeah, it was running tests and it hanged indefinitely.
I have noticed that the tests feel really slow as compared to my laptop. So I don't know if that's, you know, are we just using relatively small VMs and sometimes they get wedged, or is there a bigger issue? Or
yeah, I mean, the VM that we have, well, Azure Pipeline gives you, I have 2 cores, which of a Xeon that has like 24. So yeah, it's not the best.
the cost trade-off is fine. Okay, well, unless anyone's got anything else there. I think Teddy also suggested we look at like closing all of the open and stale issues.
I agree. The trouble is filtering them.
I mean, okay, so we are looking into them though, just not blindly closing.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, okay.
I think my gut sense is that we should generally try and manage all of that so that it doesn't just hang out weirdly stale for a long time. And I suspect that means that as we get a stable release, we just sort of slowly evaluate and pick through things, and we have to be willing to do it. I think it was last meeting that Alessandro suggested maybe we create time for like reviewing PRs or something.
Yeah.
So that might be a thing that dovetails, is like if we get a stable release out, we basically just carve out a little bit of time and just plow through them 5 at a time.
Yeah, maybe we can set up labels for things like reproducible.
Final item on the proposed agenda was syncing Facebook commits into GitHub. I have no context on this, but I mean, I think it's a great idea.
I do have some context here, not much. We were talking about bug the other day due to the refactor of the third-party dependencies. I wanted to make sure to preserve what Facebook needs internally. Turns out that the libraries that we have on our side for bug are not anymore what they are using internally. They have migrated some of this stuff to another system, which, of course, we want to make sure that we do not break by mistake. They also have some fixes they want to push back to our repository. So I guess he is looking into this.
If they've migrated some of the libraries internally, is that things that they can commit back? Does that affect us? Does it make it harder for them? Does it fit with your dependency management system?
I think things are pretty split right now on the dependencies. I think that regardless of what Buck is doing, it can coexist easily with our CMake, which is what I would like to have both system there running. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I guess they're just trying to. Maybe it has to do with legal issues, or they have to clean up some things. I'm sure they will try to upstream back their changes as soon as possible.
Yeah, I mean, we always knew Facebook had an internal fork that had diverged, and I feel like anything we can do to make it easier for them to push their changes up would be great.
Oh, it's not really a fork. It's just our branch with some commits on top of it. It's not really meant to be long-lived. I'm telling you what I was told, and I trust Teddy quite a lot.
I mean, I don't think it was ever malicious, but you know, at the point in time they stopped pushing work externally, they did not freeze internal development. So,
yeah, true.
Yeah,
I think if they have an internal version, it probably is a subset, supports a subset that is only useful to them. But I do know that they have extensions that they rely on, so that might be where the most of their divergence is.
Yeah.
Sorry, you were saying? I was just saying anything we can do to make it easier for them, I still would commit to doing. Because, like, you know, I believe in a happy future where we're all friends.
Yeah. Is that the last agenda item?
That is the last proposed agenda item. I don't know if folks have anything else.
If this is unwieldy to do a Google Doc and then have you create notes derived from the discussion, do we want to start collaborating in one of those markdown sites instead of Google Docs, just for this?
I mean, I've only done this twice now. So, you know, the first time I just took running notes in the Google Doc and then I converted it all. This time I expected I would just type it all into a markdown doc as I went. And I think you were just typing it into there. So
yeah,
I mean, I don't know what, I'm kind of willing to try whatever. I also don't feel super angsty about it because like it's only been twice.
Okay.
You know,
Well, I see that we're using GitHub as the system of record, so anything that doesn't involve an extra conversion just could be slightly easier. Then again, we might have some non-technical people jumping in, and they might be confused by Markdown. Who knows? So,
I like Google Docs a lot as a place to propose agenda items,
okay.
just because it's so easy, right? I don't know. Maybe a different question. Do you have a Markdown editing site you like?
Yeah, of course, I forget what it was off the top of my head.
This one.
MD.
Yeah,
Yeah,
HackMD, that's right.
I like it quite a lot.
Okay, well, let's try it for next week.
Okay,
I'm good with that.
try to remember that. Okay,
I'll put it into the notes.
yeah, next week, HackMD. All right, I will let everyone know when the recording is ready. It sounds like we're done, so I'll hit stop.